Hey there guys, Chaos back again. So today I'm bringing you another deck video. Building off my last one, I played a lot more games since then. I haven't played actually since I recorded them last, but today I played a heck of a lot of games. I went from I think 5300 rank to like 5700 rank, but I lost a lot. So I felt the deck was really clunky, and what I did was I made some changes. This is kind of the final form, but this is in tournament mode. I don't have currently the mats to make this deck in ranked. I run something really similar to this in ranked, but just explain kind of what I did, why I did. Let's go through the card changes first. If you haven't seen my last video though, go check it out. It's in, I'll leave a link in the description like everybody does, so I'll do that. Starting first and foremost, I used to have an Acolyte. It turned into this Fox. I used to have a Griff or Falcon Rider. I now turned it into another Fox. And I had a Goblin Bomber, which I loved a lot, and I still wish it was in this deck, but I changed it into a second Banner Parrot, which I think clearly is the best card in the game right now. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's either this or Squid Diver after the update. Squid Diver is pretty good. I haven't seen a lot of people use them properly, but Banner Parrot, my god, is so good. Then the items. I've changed one of the piercing armors to another fighting glove. I changed the obsidian spear to the range bracer. I've changed one bracer to the falcon crest. I changed the other bracer with the range damage to this banner. And these changes all synergize really well. So let's start off with why I did some of these changes. So when I was playing and I was losing some of my games, there was a couple of cards in my deck that I felt that I always wanted to sack over others and I did not want to drop. By dropping, I mean playing on the board. So one of those was Acolyte. Acolyte is tanky, has magic reflect, but does abysmal damage. And the damage a lot of times could be mitigated with magic reflect and things of the like. And it really didn't synergize with any of the buffs that I had. So it was a card that felt really dead. It felt vulnerable. And it was not cheap. It was a 3 cost card. So I can't play it on turn 1. Like you guys seen when I showed you guys the video that I lost it. I played it in turn 1 and it was not good. So that card always felt like sack bait to me. It comes out clutch in some moments, but man, all those other games where it puts me in those moments because I had that card, it really didn't balance itself. So I had to take it out. But before I did that, though, I mean, I still need magic defense. That's the reason why that it was kind of in there. But I took it out with like a sweeping change with the deck, so to speak. And the Falcon Rider was the other one that I did not like a lot because it was only situational in range and it only had one type of damage ranged. And if it was shooting across the way and something had armor on it, it's not going to clear it. So that gave like wolf spiders a lot of life. That gave everything a lot of life basically. So that card was expensive too. It was a 3-drop, and without a banner parrot on the board or without a bracer, it was completely garbage of a card. And I have to say that, you know, I can't play it on turn 1, which is the biggest drawback of that card. These guys I could drop in the tank position in position 1, and if it tends to live, it could scoot it over to 2 or 3 and make it range damage as bonus damage. Falcon Rider didn't really have that. Now Falcon Rider you could drop in turn 1 right in the middle and it would probably survive because it has flying, but it's such a waste of a card. It doesn't do anything outside of that, and if it ever falls into turn or spot 1 again, you feel like you got a lot of your firepower nerfed. So having these guys, and they're sackable too still, having these guys in the deck just feels so much better than those 2 cards. So the third change was a really rough one, which is Goblin Bomber. I contemplated keeping another Goblin Bomber and dropping one of these Foxes, and that might still come to play, but right now this deck feels so speedy and I don't feel starved of crystals ever, that I like the quickness and the consistency of this deck. It's still to be seen if I would like to get Goblin Bomber back in this deck because I really like that card, and I just leveled it up too. I forgot I could level it up to 6 HP. I just did that yesterday, or not yesterday, earlier today, and that helped a ton for it to stay alive too. So it's the same hit point as Banner Parrot, but the reason why I don't have them in here right now is because the items changed. So let's go take a look at that. I added in a Falcon Crest instead of the Bracer. Now the Bracer works wonderfully on Goblin Bomber. The only problem with that is that that's the only one that really works well on. If I add it on to like say Falcon Rider, doesn't really do much because it's like one more range damage, and like I said, if they have even one armor on the other side, it's not a piercing monster. Like even Tuck Shooter does a better job than Falcon Rider, honestly speaking. But if you add a Falcon Crest to any one of these four cards, it becomes a mini Goblin Bomber. So it's a really good card, especially if you're facing things that have reflect damage or anything like that. It's an extra attack, which is a very key element in this game. If you're building monsters with multiple attacks, like these fighting gloves on Chaos Dragon, it's 2 attacks. You literally get 2 attacks. If you have 6 monsters or 3 monsters on the board and all of them have 2 attacks each, it's like having 6 monsters on the board. It synergizes so well when you have multiple different types of damage. And of course, it's one of those things where you have to be able to play it too. So having these 4 guys here and only 2 cards means that these cards I will always keep and I always play. These cards are sackable, and basically with these ones here, I just need enough consistency to be able to draw armor at any point in the game and be able to plop it on one of these guys because they have to stay alive. So it's just simple as that. These guys are almost nearly always sacked unless they come up at the very end, and I try to keep one just so I have some hit point on the board left. So these guys, if they're still alive, they'll tank something. But yeah, 99% of the time, they're sacked instantly. These guys are sackable if they come up. But the biggest change in how this deck plays now is, if you look at the cost here too, anything that's under 3, in my opinion, is droppable on turn 1. These guys are 3 and under, but I don't drop them because if you drop them in spot 1, they're going to die. So these guys are the only cards that I try to play on turn 1. And if am I lucky enough to draw one of these, which is not hard because it's 50% of the deck, I could drop one of these guys, sack one, and then on the next turn I would end up with like 7 crystals. And then if I have another one to sack, then I'll be at 10. Plus this, if it dies, I'll have 11. At that point, you're basically free to do whatever. You could drop this guy, and this guy, and have your way with people. Or I like dropping him. Getting one of these fighting gloves on him, so that's 7, and then dropping one for 10. So that's a really good turn too. And if this guy was still alive, you will have this buff by this and that. Now, we talked about overcommitting, and it's all game situational. So I'm blabbing on right now about how to play this deck, and there's no game involved. So there's a lot of hypotheticals. But I did play a few tournaments, and in my 3 runs, I did 6 and 3. Lost that one when I was playing my deck that I showed from last time. Then I went 9 and 2. I literally won that on the very last turn. It was a very lucky and unlucky game on that last game. And I made some minor changes. I still had all the wrong cards in there. And then I went to this deck and I did a 9 and 0. Now, I did not record a lot of that run. I didn't know how long that was going to take. And at the last run, I started recording on game 5 and up. So like I went 5 and 0 at that point. And I did record it, and I'll share that with you guys. And I'll do that pausing and basically discussing the strategy within that. The one thing I will say about tournament mode is that there's a lot of low rank players right now, and the low rank players use a lot of magic. Unlike rank 1 you either run all magic or not much magic at all. And I did find it to be a bit annoying, so having the bracers in here kind of rectify that. And I feel it's good because Acolyte, the problem with Acolytes is Reflect. It didn't position itself well. So I want Acolyte to be a tank, right? That was the point of it, having it in there. And if I dropped him in spot 2 or 3 to counter like a magic player, then I don't have my tank anymore. And that's where I want my, my range damage to be at. So having it on an item is nice because I never have to take it away from my tank. And it is so easy for the opponent to push a magic user away from Reflect if your Reflect is in spot 1. Because you just drop another tank down and the magic card is gone. So the Reflect is a very minimal threat in that situation. But with this card, I could drop it in retroactively, and I could drop it in and not have to worry about moving my Acolyte to kind of counterbalance their magic attacks. And if they were to move their magic users out, then I ideally want my range attackers to kill it, right? So having it as an item is a lot better. These two are huge changes, but the fighting gloves, man, this is crazy. Like, I drop it on Chaos Dragon in the front if I know that there's no reflect or whatever, and I then would have this guy plus the banner. And when that banner comes out, check it out, you're not feared anymore. The glove basically went from a 2 damage to a 4 damage, and I still get 6 chaos damage. I got 5 armor and 8 hit points with flying. And then I would now get on the parrot banner. Yeah, the banner parrot would get a 5 range attack. And then it depends on what I have on the other side. It would also get 5 range attack. If I were to have a Falcon Crest on any one of those guys, they would get an extra 3 chaos damage with 2 armor. It is nuts. If I had like the gloves on Blue Dragon and I had the banner on Banner Parrot, it's 9 damage and I could literally one hit a bunch of stuff. If I don't even use that and I use this armor, it would be a 7 damage melee and I could hit just about everything and it would pierce. It's so crazy. Like this guy would pierce, right? With the 4 damage and the 6 chaos damage would pierce. The fighting gloves are like so good. In one iteration, I actually took this over the Armor of Darkness. Like honestly speaking, the Armor of Darkness, the double strike is not that good in the deck, like I said last time, because the only person that could really benefit from it is Blue Dragon. The fear's nice, but yeah, the double strike doesn't really help me in too much of a pinch. But yeah, I even took one of these out for the fighting gloves, but I put it back in there because the fear is nice. In my rank deck though, I don't have this in 5 armor form. I only have it in 4, and the cost is 3. Like I might put another Pierce back in, but then I don't want to double Pierce with the Chaos Dragon. So I'd rather have 2 cards that it doesn't synergize well with instead of 3 cards. But yeah, this item change was so big. I really like that change. It made the deck so much more potent in spot 1. I mean, it's actually scary what I have out there as offense. But yeah, I don't want to drag this on too long. I just want to give a quick, I would say, review, or not review, a preview of what I'm running now in rank 1, and also it works really well in tournament. And like I said, I'll show the other video of my 5-0 from my last run. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, hit me up and I'll be happy to answer. Take care. Bye bye.